Hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of Speedrun News. Now this week, or this actual circus, was the first circus where we're seeing a lot of big brain plays being utilized in the Naxx speedrun meta. Although most of those huge plays are being performed by the guild Noobs, and that is going to be something we're going to touch on first. But as we're about to get into it, the big winners this week are both Noobs and Salad Bakers. Noobs with the world record being 57 minutes and 27 seconds, and Salad Bakers being the world first guild to get that sub 1 hour clear of Naxx, where they actually just kind of went in there with a pretty laid out strategy of just blasting, utilizing insane overall DPS from their warriors, and just destroying the raid, not going for any skips or crazy pulls, just a really clean execution. But first, I want to start off with some of the biggest losers of this month, which consists not only of whatever's going on with my facial hair here, but also with some of the fails from some of the players in these world record runs, as well as some of the fails from some of the biggest prospects guilds, or even just what happened to some of the horde guilds.
Alright, wreck now. No! Like, oh no. Oh man, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Oh, I had to stop to kill that mob. This could be a wipe actually. Why do I have aggro? I'm curious why those pulled. Someone had to have fucked up. That's hard to fuck up though.
I'm standing on a void zone. I'm dead. What? Blameo, pick it up. Huh?
You feel pain.
Okay, Blood Fury and Doomsday. Okay. Did somebody seriously fall?
Okay, so first things first, the elephant in the room, Noobs. Noobs did the incredible feat of getting the fastest run, which was 57 minutes and 27 seconds. Now, one thing that is very important to note, and a lot of people have some confusion out there of what's going on over here. So let's just kind of get rid of these myths. Noobs is on the Chinese servers, the Chinese realms, where they do have some buffs go out on CD. They don't have vendors that they can go to and just instantly get full buffed. That's not the same, but it shouldn't really change anything in a speedrun scenario, because pretty much every speedrun guild is going to get buffs no matter what anyways, even if it's a little bit harder, which we see with some guilds like Progress. Moving past that, Noobs does have a tournament realm that they have been able to utilize, and this isn't a full PTR, it is a tournament realm used for actual tournaments, which I hope that Blizzard actually kind of uses this in TBC so everyone can have tournaments just available for limited times where we can go in and try to see who can do the fastest run, and there's a prize pool. That being said, they did have more time and options to actually practice some strats, namely the big Giga pull, the Faralina pull that they pull off. They did have more time to practice this than any other guild really. So Noobs kind of has the advantage there. It's just what it is. And lastly, the amount of gear on all of the characters in Noobs is actually insane, where most players have Hungry and Cold and Gressel, Kiss of the Spider, Mark of the Champion, and more. This is because a lot of their players go to different GDKPs on their mains and just buy whatever drops. So if they see the drop, they just get it. This is why so many of their characters are so geared, because they're all in different GDKP runs, and so this is giving them a slight advantage as well. Although they have these advantages, this does not make their feat any less incredible. They still did have to play incredibly well to get this world record, and they still did have to execute all of their strategies, which we've seen guilds with practice struggle with before in the past. Alright, now, after watching some of those easily avoidable deaths, some simple mistakes, and some of the things that are just so obvious that it seems like it would be so easy, but in all honesty, in so many of these runs, when you're so focused and so much pressure is going on, it's really easy to kind of forget about a simple mechanic or kind of zone out on something. So either way, let's move into the episode. And I wanted to start this month off with kind of a breakdown of some of the new items that are utilized more so than they were in last month's Circus. So with that, we're going to start with the snowball, something a little known thing. And yes, you heard that right. I am talking about actual snowballs. And these are something obviously from the winter event. And it's something that we're actually being seen used on Alliance side on some fights, particularly something like Saffron. Now, I am not 100% confirmed on if this works because I can't practice it myself, but it might just be a huge meme. But we're seeing this in a lot of speedruns where people are using snowballs on bosses that have wisdom up, and they're actually getting some mana back. So they're actually getting some mana back. This is kind of crazy, and let me move my face down, that he's not actually doing any damaging abilities here, but he does have snowballs being cast quite often, 25 of them, and from wisdom, he is actually getting 531 mana back. Moving past that potentially very memey thing, I want to look at the Arcanite Dragonling. Now this is something I first noticed being used in Progress's run, although it was also used in Noobs' world record run. Now, Progress's run in Lotheb, on the Lotheb fight, we are seeing their mages do ridiculous amounts of damage. Now, what we are looking at, and you can see now that almost all of the mages are using this Arcanite Dragonling, is the Flame Buffet buff, or debuff, that it puts up on the boss, and this debuff is a debuff that will increase fire damage taken by the target, so this is just out here to boost the damage of all of the mages, as well as the damage of the fire warlocks. So even the damage of the warlocks who are just spamming Searing Pain and Immolate is actually going up because of this Flame Buffet debuff on the boss. Now, next up are a couple things that can all be used together, and those include the Electromagnetic Gigaflux Reactor and this Reactivator. This is from the actual bosses in Nomergan, and this is a helmet that will do 150 to 172 lightning damage to all of the mobs near you. It will also give you a buff, which you can just get rid of or swap the helmet itself. This is being useful for some of the big pulls, as well as the Ramseen's lightning bolts from Stratholme Undead, which will do a static 200 damage to every mob. Now, the one thing to note about this trinket is that it does have a slight delay. It's like a kind of a full GCD once you use it, and then the actual ability goes out. So if you're macroing it with other things, make sure you macro this first. And then the Goblin Bomb Dispenser, which will make a bomb explode for 315 to 385 fire damage. And these two trinkets actually do not share a GCD, so you can macro them together where they will go off at the exact same time for some big extra damage on these big AoE pulls along with your Sapper. So we're basically seeing this in the Spider Wing, like I'll show you right now. Now, right now, we are going to the POV of the Noobs run, the 57-minute world record, and you can see that they're doing their very first Petri pull, which has a paladin who invisibilitied into a Nubercon's area, and within 30 seconds they're actually going to get to the boss. 30 seconds from the first pull, they're going to get to the boss. First, you're going to see them use their fire shields here, which is the oil of immolation. You pre-pop these, everyone's going to then get into position, and you can see that they're using a Ramseen's lightning bolt as well as a goblin bomb dispenser, which is going to lag the screen, but just an insane amount of damage. There are some sappers going out here also, which can just overlap on things and people at 10k DPS, but they actually do another big pull later where they will use their sappers. So currently that is what they are using. Now next is the big brain, the Giga pull, the Fairlina pull that we have so far only seen one Horde guild really attempt, and that will be Onslaught, and I will show those in a second. But this is the big pull where you pull all the trash before Fairlina, and Noobs has done it in two different ways now. They've done it where they've pulled all of the spiders with it, and now they've also done it where they just pull all of just Fairlina's room. And it'll be interesting to see the meta moving forward if they decide to pull everything. But here it relies on every single person having a sapper. Every single person is using sapper there so that they can blow up all the ads. And it is important to note that with Darkening Fair, you don't need Ramsteins, but if people have all died, you're probably going to also need a Ramstein's Lightning Bolt. That's why they split these up.
Hello. Better call it now. Faye, hello. We're gonna... Our invis spot's gonna fade first. Oh, we were so close. DMF would have made the difference. DMF would have made the difference, yeah. So close, dude. So close. God damn it.
While I'm on this topic, one important thing to note that's different from the last speedrun meta was that we are now seeing almost every guild start with the Spider Wing, because you can just blow it up in about 9 minutes and then move on to the rest of the raid, swap your sharpening stones, and never have to swap back. The last item I really want to talk about really quickly that a lot of people are using, and you don't have to do this just in speedruns, but like in pretty much every raid you can utilize this, is the Gnomish Battle Chicken, which you can use it as a trinket before you pull a boss like Patchwork. You can also combine this with the book off of Onyxia, and just for some extra damage, this will give you an extra buff that will give you a 5% haste buff called Battle Squawk for your party. So make sure that you are using this if you have one. If you don't, just make one. They're very easy to use or to make. And these are very useful for quite a few bosses in here. Next up, let's look at the logs. So what happened with the logs? This is Salad Baker's overall DPS, where you can see 5 people above 1,000 DPS versus Noobs' overall DPS, where you can see 3 people at over above 1,000 DPS. So while Noobs did have a faster run, Salad Baker seems to be having the highest DPS output. And they actually did run one rogue in Salad Baker's run, and that was because the other Pumper Rogue, Roguish, actually had to work. But one rogue who's actually daggers expose armor, which is an interesting spec where he's basically using Sinister Strike most of the time on bosses to keep up the debuff. Now, as I mentioned that, we should take note of Spineless, the world's fastest Horde guild, who's actually running an unprecedented 7 rogues in this raid. 7 rogues in this raid, which is actually a very high amount, but their DPS output was really, really high. So you can absolutely get incredible speeds and numbers with rogues instead of only all warriors. The difference really that is the reasoning to bring warriors is on average they're better, but an extraordinary rogue is better than an average warrior. But an extraordinary warrior will never be caught by an extraordinary rogue. It's almost impossible, especially at these speeds. Alright, so I kind of wanted to keep this week's breakdown kind of short, so I'm going to talk about some last things. Lastly, really, is groups going into Thaddeus as their last boss before Saffron is a way of saving time where you can get the debuff, have the people with the debuff closest to the portal port through, and actually be able to get into position around 30 seconds before the debuff goes away. The boss will do his little RP, and everyone else at like 15 seconds with the other debuff can port through and get into position as well before the boss actually spawns. Like I showed earlier, you have to move into position if you have moved through the portal already, because when everybody else comes through, they will be a different charge than you and you will instantly die. Another thing here is really I want to send you guys off with what I think was the MVP play, the best play of this entire month's speedrun circus. And that is coming from the man Lottie himself, where he swaps on his actual Diamond Flask set healing gear and swaps back to his normal gear in literally the exact pixel of the boss spawning and becoming targetable.
It's so fucking close. Just look. I'm just like, okay, I'll healing gear. And then he fucking spots! Look again. Yeah, because that's, look now. Look at that game. Look at that play. Well, it's timing, dude. But it's just my timing. This red on cooldown. That one is fucking frame perfect, dude. That one is fucking biz.
It was a huge play. It was crazy to see because a split second later means that's death instantly. So this was a crazy thing to watch, and honestly, hats off to Noobs and Salad Bakers for these sub 1 hour Naxx Rammus runs, and I'm really excited to see what we see moving forward. I want you guys to kind of give me some predictions of what you think the final speedrun time will be in the comments, who's going to win the race for the fastest speedrun of all of Classic, and what are some of the strats they're going to use. We already know that Salad Bakers can use more speed items that they didn't utilize, like Noobs uses speed items after a Noober can, or after Faralina, or after Noth even, and Hygen. There's a lot of times where you can use speed items like boots and stopwatches and swiftness potions to increase your speed. With that being said, guys, thank you all for watching, and I will be covering all things speedrun over on the Twitch and just kind of hanging out and having fun. So I will see you guys on the next one.